and take delight in it, and then stay in prayer, and just know when you don't get things, you just keep at it, and things just begin to soak in and catch up with you, and you know it, and you don't even know how or why, but that's because you just continue to be disciplined. And that's what he says on page 6. So chapter 3, the alphabet and pronunciation. This is probably the most important part of the introduction in this video, is just getting used to the alphabet, get familiar with it, and work on your pronunciation. So there's 24 letters it talks about, and says, at first it is only important to learn the English names, small letters, and pronunciation. And that's true. You won't have to really bother with the, on page 8, you won't have to really bother with the larger letters. I mean, be familiar with them, but don't worry too much about that. Focus on the smaller letters. Here is the transliteration. That's just how you would write if you were to write the Greek letters in English, that's what you would use. Again, the main thing you're focusing on is just the smaller letters, how they sound, and then that's pretty much it. So I'll just run through the alphabet really quick. Alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon, zeta, eta, theta, iota, kappa, lambda, mu, nu, xi, omicron, pi, rho, sigma, tau, upsilon, phi, chi, psi, omega. Again, I'm not the best at pronunciation. It's not my thing. It never was, especially with Greek. When I like I said earlier, so I moved on quickly from these elementary phases and went straight into what I enjoyed, which was the syntax and understanding how to make all the various interpretive decisions. So pronunciation is my thing, but you might be able to find, I think Mounce has a video you can find through his website where he goes through 1 John, and you can kind of track with him. My pronunciation, for the most part, is not too far off from what he does there, but I don't really pay attention to some when to raise the voice and lower the voice. There's these little accents that you can be doing if you really want to get into it, and I don't pay attention to that. So I'm going to share with you a little trick. A lot of people either put the alphabet to song to memorize it. I put it more to a rhythm, a rap, if you will, something to really pull letters together, and it helped me memorize the alphabet in order. It's not essential to have the alphabet down in order by recall. The thing that's important is just to identify the letter and its sound, its first sound that it makes. So for example, alpha is ah, as in father. So you'd want to know alpha and ah, and so beta, ba, as in by bull, b. It's just like our English. I mean, ba, b is ba. So that's going to be really nice. Just so you know, when you go through these and you go through like eta, which is e as in obey, eta. Did I say eta? No. Eta is as in obey. So it's very similar to what you would think. It's just how he has it there. So no tricks here. But in terms of memorizing it, if you do want to get it into your mind quickly, I used kind of a rhythm and meter. So alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon, zeta, eta, theta, iota, kappa, lambda, mu, nu, xi, omega, pi, rho, sigma, tau, upsilon, phi, chi, psi, omega. So da 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 da, something like that. Whatever works for you. It's organic like that. You got to know you'll find things that work. Writing the letters, I don't have to worry about that. I mean, unless you want to be really good at writing the letters, but that's not going to help you do exegesis. But again, if that's what you want to do it. Especially if you want to be a teacher and you look really cool writing the letters out, go for it. The vowels, it's the alpha, epsilon, and then you have the eta, iota, omicron, upsilon, and omega. Those will be the vowels. Pronouncing the letters. I think the one thing to note is with the gamma, when you have two gammas, gamma is this cool looking thing here. My gamma doesn't look as good as in the book, but that's what it is. And when you have the gamma, it comes up twice. The first one, no, that second one looks terrible, but the first one becomes more of an N sound, and then the second one still has the G sound, so you got ng. So he gives the example of angel would be angelos, angelos. So that first G sound will turn to an N sound, angelos. And it almost naturally just does that anyway. I mean, when you look at two G's, two gammas next to each other, and you try to pronounce it coming off of the olive, or the alpha, olive would be Hebrew, alpha, you would have I mean, your tongue, you naturally, it seems to me that you would do that anyway. So, again, I think he says that later. He says, you know, one way to do all this is with syllabification, where two syllables break up, and you're parting on a word to where to enunciate. It almost comes natural for English-speaking people. So, don't worry too much about it. I think as you keep going through it, reading and doing your best, you're going to be right with it. Breathing marks. So it's a rough breathing mark. It goes one direction, and then the I think the smooth breathing mark is the other one. Yeah, and so he has who bears one of the words he has. But this crazy little thing, that's terrible again. But the mark that faces that way would be the rough breathing mark, and that's just going to have an H sound that almost comes over the top of the vowel sound here. And so you have hooper, hooper. The U sound is still there, but what's mostly emphasized is that H sound. And then with the smooth is the opposite direction. The mark would be going the other direction, and it's basically just it's actually, you don't have to worry about it. It's just the same sound as you would do. Apostolos is the example he gives. This is page 10. He gives the diphthongs. The diphthongs are when two vowels come together that actually pronounce as one. So be familiar with these. That's important. Yeah, down the road you'll want to get that down, but it's not necessarily get it right away, but at least keep working at it. So don't be overwhelmed if you're thinking, okay, I got an alphabet, I got these rough and smooth breathing marks, now I got the diphthongs. You'll be okay. When sometimes these vowels, you naturally pronounce them together anyway, like oi as in oil, and he gives the example of oikia, and ow as in sauerkraut, ow, autos. Yeah, you got oo as in soup, oude. Pretty standard, huh? You might be thinking, this is absolutely not standard. This is the first time I've ever done this. No worries. Keep at it. It's all here. And then we'll have our follow-up lecture time with Jake and or Ethan in Greek. Maybe one of them will do Hebrew with me. Well, one of them better. Otherwise, we won't have a follow-up lesson. Follow-up videos for those. Advanced information. Yeah. So some of the capitals do not look anything like their lowercase letters. That's just be familiar with those ones, and those will come along. Again, your main thing for right now is not to worry about the capitals. Capitals are rarely used. I mean, they're used often, but not as nearly like the lowercase. So you'll find a capital on a name at the start of some sections, but nothing to get yourself overwhelmed about trying to memorize all these different forms right now. But just get used to the small ones, and note that there's a couple capitals that look nothing like their lowercase letter. Chapter 4, page 12. See, what do we have here? Okay, yeah, you just want to be familiar with, he has Greek punctuation. Greek punctuation is pretty simple here. In fact, you got theos with the comma. It looks like a comma like it would be in English. Theos, he has the period there. Looks like a period would be in English. The only thing that's different is with theos as with the semicolon in Hebrew is it's a dot on the top side of the last letter. That's the semicolon. So these two statements are connected closely in thought, and then the question mark looks like a English semicolon. So actually, I can write that out so you can see what I'm saying. Yeah, I'll do the question mark. So that's a question mark in Greek, but this is not a sentence. This is just an example. He's using the word theos, means God, to show you just the punctuation. So this is not an actual statement, of course. Well, we don't need to turn to a statement. Whole point is just recognize the endings, and then without that, that's when the dot's up top. That there would be your semicolon. The two statements are linked closer together in thought. It's not a period. Semicolon brings the two pieces to closer together. See, yeah, he goes to the diacritical marks. Yeah, just go through, read through that stuff, but again, not to be too concerned about the accents. Not something I do, not something I'm into. I think naturally we would tend to have a little bit of the accent and the grave accent and the acute accent going on, maybe as we pronounce it. The circumflex, where your voice kind of comes up and comes back down. Again, if that's your thing, you want to get into it, and do so. Keep working at it. You won't find me as a good example for that, so don't pay attention to me. But the example he gives here for a grave, he's got chi. I'm guessing on the chi, the iota there at it goes kappa alpha iota. On the iota, you would come down a little bit, I guess. So chi theos ein halagos. I can't even think about lagos. I don't. So do that if you get into it and you got that skill. Go for it. It's just something, a pattern not to do. Now I just can't get in my head to do it. So kai theos ein halagos is that. So, and God was the Word. The Word was God, or yeah. So that in this case it would be God, or excuse me, the Word was God. That's that statement I was mentioning where they have the word was a God. Well, in Greek, theos comes first, which is putting emphasis on theos, but the article isn't there. We'll get into all that later. And anyways, the article's not there, which is the reason why the Jehovah's Witnesses would say, well, see, it's anarthrous. It doesn't have an article, therefore it's a God. The only problem is that it's placed before the predicate nominative. It's a predicate nominative, which just simply means that the predicate is placed first, and it doesn't have the article, so it's being emphasized. And there's a use in the biblical Greek for in the unarthrous predicate nominative that's placed first, and that would be a qualitative, so use of the anarthrous noun. So that would be that the word has the full qualities of God. It's not that it's a God. That wouldn't make any sense in the context anyway. But anyway, I'm talking too much about that. I'd have to review complete to get my thoughts back on all that. Your pronunciation, work on your pronunciation, memorization, identification. Yeah, he's don't be afraid when he says there are a few words that are identical except for their accents. Like tis can mean who, and tis without the accent can mean someone. That stuff almost sounds like, I think he's just saying, note that accents can change a meaning. That things like that will become apparent and easy for you later. It sounds kind of crazy up front, like, oh my goodness, it's just a little mark. But again, and the one thing is you know that tis and tis either way is going to either be who or someone. It's a relative pronoun. or it's an interrogative pronoun. Interrogative would be a question. So anyhow, it's not too bad. And now syllabification. I used to pronounce that syllabification until I was corrected during giving a Hebrew lecture. A friend of mine corrected me. He said, no, it's syllabification. And nothing like being corrected while you're giving a lecture to students who you thought didn't know as much as you. Just kidding. Well, with Hebrew, I hope I knew a little more. Otherwise, I don't know why I was teaching it. But I did not assume I knew how to pronounce better than the students that were the two guys in my that were learning Hebrew at that time. I figured that they were quite intelligent, and quite intelligent they were, and so I got corrected mid lecture, which I needed. Good for humility. Something I need more of. The rules are there's 7 rules he gives. Go ahead and go through those. Those are important. Those will be helpful for you. Don't get overwhelmed by them. Just be familiar with them. Work at them. The big thing again is pronunciation of the sound of the alphabet. Like alpha is a, beta is b. Just go through the alphabet and do that. That's the big thing to focus on. Go through these various rules. There is 1 vowel per syllable. That's kind of helpful. Then you know that you kind of can break it up that way. He goes through a single consonant by itself, goes with the following vowel. He has e, o, ra, ka, men. So the rho is going with the alpha, and rather than with the omega. And that's on number 2, page 15. You'll see that the consonant is paired up with the following vowel. So these rules are helpful just so you know how the syllables are broken up in Greek. Again, over time you'll get that. Don't get overwhelmed with that yet. Be working at it. He says that's one way to learn it is by the rules. The first way he says is that to syllabify is that go with your feelings if you are an English native speaker, because it's most likely going to be correct. So vocabulary, don't be overwhelmed with it. The good news is once you learn a few words, you've already learned, as he says, quite a bit of the total number of word count in the New Testament. That's exciting. So there are a total of 5,423 different words in the New Testament. But if you know, say, the word, what's he give an example of? If you know kai, the conjunction kai means and. It occurs 9,018 times. Learn that one word, and you know 6.6% of the New Testament. So you're almost at 10%. You learn kai and a couple of the to be verb, then you're well on to 30% of the New Testament. Now, I don't know. I just put a number out there, but so the thing is, it's a dead language. It's fixed. Your vocab's fixed there, and so just know as you're growing your vocab, it just eats up the word count quickly. You learn a few of these key terms that are used all the time. Well, for example, prophet here, prophetess, is used 144 times in the New Testament. You have another one, kai, he said, again, is over 9,000 times. You learn that. So heart, cardia, that's, so I'll run through them real quick. So you got angelos, angel, messenger. Amen, very truly, amen, so let it be. Anthropos, mankind, person, people, humankind, that's 550 times. Apostolos, apostle, envoy, messenger. Galilea, Galilee, that might be a word I pronounce a little bit weird. Graphe means writing, scripture. Doxa, it means glory, majesty, fame. Ego, I, there's one, that's a big one. It's over almost 2,000 times. Eschatos, eschatos would be like eschatology. That might be an identifier if you're familiar with eschatology is a theological term for last things, study of last things, end times. So Zoe, life, Theos means God. Or Kai means and, even, also namely. Cardia, heart, inner self. Cosmos means world, universe, mankind. Depending on context, these are general sense of the this is the giving. He's giving a kind of a general, the key, what would you call it, essential meaning, but in context is where those meanings will actually play out. So, for example, he gives you a couple lists here. He has world and humankind for cosmos. Well, in certain contexts, it's going to be world. In other contexts, it can refer to mankind in particular. Logos, word, statement, message. Pneuma, spirit, wind, breath, inner life. And by spirit, I mean the Holy Spirit, he says. Remember, in Greek, there is no silent consonants, so the P is pronounced, unlike in English where, for example, the P is not pronounced in the word pneumatic. Pneuma, okay. Prophetes means prophet. Sabbaton means Sabbath. Phone means sound, voice. So Sabbaton sounds like Sabbath. Prophetes sound like prophet. So that'll be helpful for your memorization. He also has the footnotes, kind of fun little points, footnotes for the vocab that might help you memorize it. That's it for, we got a few more vocab here. Christos, which is the anointed one, Messiah. He says the Old Testament. In the earlier parts of the New Testament, Christos is a title, but as you move through through Acts, it becomes so closely associated with Jesus that it is a personal name and should be capitalized, Christos. What's interesting is that although he makes this point, this personal name is still a title. It's still very much a title in the sense that even the anointed one, the Messiah, was always typological to the coming of the Christ. So when the New Testament authors are using Christos, they always have that as a reference. It's not like that Paul's using the term Christos and Jesus, Jesus, without having those original identifications in mind. So Jesus always means Yahweh is salvation. It comes from Yeshua in the Hebrew, and then Christos, the Messiah, Mashiach in Hebrew, that always means anointed one. So those meanings are always, and I would just argue that's my thing, is those meanings are never lost, no matter however the words are used in the New Testament by authors. Sometimes they do only put Jesus, sometimes they put Jesus Christ, but when they do, keep in mind those references. Those are always important, and those words never lose those references. That's my 2 cents on that. Abraham, excuse me. It was Abraham. David, Paulos, Petros, Pila. I must be tired. Pilatos. I guess I haven't said Pilate's name in a long time in Greek. Simone would be Simon. Okay? So it gives you a word count and the numbers that you have, and you're up to 11.55% of the New Testament memorized. That's exciting. And so we're on chapter 5. Get the workbook, work on those exercises, read through the chapter well, work on your vocab and the vocab there we just did. Get those onto some cards or get the box, and then and also what was the other point? And memorize the alphabet as best you can and the pronunciation.